In 2006, I bought a record that completely changed how I play guitar. Not my technique or my music theory knowledge per se, but the way I think about melody. The record was Resolution by Andy Timmons. And the title track, it stopped me so cold that I listened to it 20 times that first day. 20 times. I'm not exaggerating. Song after song, Resolution, The Prayer, The Answer, Gone, Lydia. I kept hearing the same thing. Now, Andy can absolutely shred, and there's plenty of fast, flashy playing on that record. But he wasn't just blazing, trying to impress with speed. He was saying something. And the way he said it was so simple and so perfect, I had to figure out exactly what he was doing. What I discovered changed everything for me. And in the next 10 or so minutes, I'm going to share it with you, because once you hear this, you'll never be able to think about soloing the same way again. So what was Andy doing that had me hitting repeat 20 times? It comes down to two words, tension and resolution. Tension and resolution is the engine underneath every great melody ever written. Every single one. Here's the simplest way to think about it. Tension is a musical question, and resolution is the answer. And the magic happens in the space between the two. What Andy does better than just about any other instrumental guitarist I've ever heard is build perfect melodic statements. He'll take something simple, a triad or a seventh arpeggio, and he'll deliberately add one or two notes that don't belong to that chord. Notes that make your ear feel uncomfortable just long enough that it makes the resolution feel absolutely inevitable and satisfying. So let me show you exactly what I mean, and I'm going to start off with something deliberately plain so you can really hear the difference. Here is a D major triad ascending through 3 octaves. Nice, right? But kind of boring. It's like a sentence with no punctuation. It just kind of sits there. But hear what happens when we approach it the way Andy would. Instead of starting on the root, he's going to start on the 5th. This is a D major triad, so the 5th is A. And that one simple choice immediately sets up a little anticipation. Your ear is waiting for home, which is the root note. And as he moves through each octave, he adds in the 2nd. That's the first tension note. The 2nd, or E, is not a chord tone. It doesn't belong in the triad, but it's just close enough to the root that the ear desperately wants it to resolve. So it's a tiny moment of suspension, just enough friction to catch your attention without losing you. But here's where it really gets interesting. When Andy reaches the top of that 3rd octave and starts descending, he swaps out the 2nd for the 4th. So there's another non-chord tone, another layer of tension. The 4th has this beautiful ache to it. It pulls hard towards the 3rd. And by the time it resolves, your ear is completely satisfied. So we made a couple of simple additions. We added the 5th leading to the root. We added the 2nd on the way up. And we added the 4th on the way down. The difference between the playing triad and this phrase, it's like the difference between hearing somebody read a legal statement or hear them read a beautiful story. So let's take a step back and talk about what's really going on here. There's no shortage of guitar lessons about chord tone soloing, land on chord tones, target chord tones, outline chord changes with chord tones. And it's not wrong, I've made a bunch of videos like that. And chord tones always sound correct, but correct isn't the same thing as interesting. Here's what nobody talks about. Emotion doesn't live in the chord tones. It lives in the space between them. The greatest melodic players in the world, they're not just targeting chord tones. A lot of times, they're deliberately avoiding them. Chord tones are the punctuation. Non-chord tones, that's your story. Here's another example that demonstrates what I'm talking about. Let's go back to that simple D major triad, the good old 1, 3, and 5. We already made it more interesting by starting on the 5th to set up the root and then adding the 2nd on the way up. But what if we took it even further? What if instead of heading straight for chord tones, we just kept moving away from them? We could play the 5th, the root, the 2nd, the 4th, the 6th. Feel that? We're already further from home than before, but we're not done. Now let's add the major 7th. And we're going to linger there. The major 7th is about as far from resolved as we can get. It's a half step from home, which is our root note, and our ear knows it, and it's practically begging to resolve. So we tease it. We're going to play the major 7th and bend in the root and release it just to twist that knife a little. And then we're going to bring it home by playing the 6th, the 5th, one little detour back to the 6th, just to keep the listener on their toes, and then we're going to slide from the 2nd right into that sweet sounding major 3rd for the final resolution. The tension releases, the story ends. It's the same triad we've played 1,000 times. With this time, we took the long way around, and every step of the journey meant something. Now let me show you 2 specific ways that Andy does this with minor triads, and then we're going to combine them into something really special. Let's use A minor, and the playing triad is right here. It's A, C, and E. It sounds nice and sounds correct, but it's sort of boring. And here's the first thing that Andy will do. Instead of just outlining the triad, he'll play the root, the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, the 4th again, the 3rd, and back to the root. That's it, just one non-chord tone. But that 4th sneaking in and back out again, that's kind of magic. Your ear barely even registers that we're playing triads anymore. We're used to hearing triads played like this. But now we've got this phrase. And that one note is enough to disguise the whole shape, and suddenly it sounds like a real melodic statement instead of an exercise. Simple and effective. Now here's the second thing he does, and this one really gets me. He'll take a standard A minor triad shape. Let's grab it right here at the 12th fret. We've got A, E, A on the A, D, and G strings, and we're heading for the C, the minor 3rd on the B string. But before we get there, we're going to stop on the B. That's the 9th, and just for a split second, and maybe even for a grace note. But the 9th has this aching, yearning quality that just cuts right through. One little note, one brief moment of tension, but it completely transforms the phrase. Now, let's take both of those ideas and put them together into a single lick. Here's where it gets really fun. We start with that first lick on the A and D strings, the root, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 4th, 3rd, and root. Letting the 4th do its little disappearing act, disguising that triad just enough to keep the ear guessing. We land on the root to close out that first statement, but instead of stopping there, we're going to use that root as the launching pad to another phrase. We're We're going to drop down to G, which is the minor seventh, and we feel how that one move instantly is going to set up the anticipation for what comes next. Now the minor seventh, it's already leaning forward. It's already telling our ear that something is coming. So we're going to ascend into the triad up to the C note. And just like we talked about before we hit that C, we're going to play the B in the ninth, and we're going to hear that same aching, yearning moment that we heard before. Now that's a complete melodic story, and that's what Andy Timmons taught me. Not more scales and patterns, but taking scales and patterns we already know, telling a story with them, and that has a real musical impact. Now let's take everything we've talked about, put it into one complete statement. Melodic phrase, tension, resolution, and now the punctuation. We're in the 14th position. We're going to start off with that same triad formula we've been building on. A, C, D, E, D, C, and A on the G and B strings. So that's the A minor triad with the fourth or D added. Familiar territory, but already more interesting than a plain triad. But now we're going to shift upward. We're going to play C, D, and E on the B string, G and A on the high E. And then we're going to slide into the C at the 20th fret. And then we're going to bend B, or the ninth, up into that minor third. That's the first really emotional statement. That minor third on a bent note, it's one of the most emotionally raw sounds a guitar makes. We're going to release back to B, play the A, and then we're going to go again. This next time we're going to bend C all the way up to D, the sixth, and we're going to let it ring like an unanswered question hanging in the air. So the listener is suspended, waiting, leaning in. And that's exactly when we're going to pull the trigger and rip an Eric Johnson-ish cascade straight out of that D, waterfalling all the way down to the G note on the low E. And just like that, the tension breaks. The fast run, it's not just showing off, it's an exhale after holding your breath. It's an exclamation point at the end of a perfectly constructed sentence. And that's the complete formula. Melody, tension, resolution, punctuation. And every single piece of it adds meaning to what you play. That's what Andy Timmons taught me in 2006. It wasn't just about playing better, it was about taking control. When you understand tension and resolution, when you know that bent minor third is going to punch somebody right in the chest, that a lingering sixth is going to make them lean forward, that a cascading pentatonic run is going to feel like an exhale, you stop being a passenger in your own solo. You become an author and an architect. You decide what someone feels. And that's the difference between noodling and storytelling. So here's your challenge for the week. Take some simple triads. Use the ideas we covered today. Find your tension notes, linger on them just long enough, and then resolve them with intention. Start small, one phrase, but make every single note mean something. Have fun with that guitar. I'll see you next week.